Hi, I'm a missionary, and I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're here, and you open the door, and we are so excited about that, because we have a lot of things to tell you about our church. We, first and foremost, are Christians. It means we believe in Jesus, yay, just like you. Or maybe not, and if you don't know, we're going to tell you. Our church was founded in 1830 by Joseph Smith. There's a lot of things about Joseph Smith that you will not learn for a very long time. But what we will tell you is the plan of salvation, also known as the plan of happiness, at least for those who are willing to take it. For those who don't, it can actually lead to a lot of sadness. But we're not sad. We're really happy. The plan of salvation is a plan for you to return with God. The Lord spoke to Joseph Smith millions of times, but we're going to talk about the main few times. The Lord told Joseph that he was to restore the gospel on the earth because all of the other religions were corrupt. And so in 1830, the world was ready. It just so happened during this period that the world needed the truth to come back. We do have the Book of Mormon. It's not creepy. We don't know why people think that it is. It's really not. We know that Mormons are weird. We are Mormons and we know. But the Book of Mormon isn't very weird at all. It's really not. Believe me, I'm being serious. In fact, if Mormons followed what was in the Book of Mormon, things would look different than they do. And you might be asking, why would you teach this book if you didn't believe that everything in it was true? We do. We do believe that everything in the Book of Mormon is true. We just also believe that what our prophet says can sort of supersede that, which is really great. Yay! Okay, so what happens is you can be baptized into our church if you are willing to give up some things. No coffee, no tea, no alcohol, no drugs, except ours. And no premarital sex. You can't live together. If you've been in a committed relationship for a long time, you will both have to stop living together. No more sex. Sexy time is bad. But once you join the church, a year later, you can be sealed in the temple. Yay! And then you can live together again. If you don't both agree to join the church, that's okay. We will embrace you as one of us. But your marriage, whatever this common law marriage that you have, will probably fall apart. But that's okay. Some sacrifices are worth making, even our family members and the things that matter to us most. Speaking of sacrifices, I am an excellent person to talk to about making sacrifices. I'm on a mission, and so for about 2 years or so, I am not allowed to talk to my family, except twice a year. And they miss me. We teach that family is the most important thing. So you might think that it's sort of ironic that we would be willing to leave our families for so long and not talk to them. But there are a lot of ironic things that we do. We stop talking to our family members if they're homosexuals or if they find themselves in difficult circumstances with drugs and other things, because no. It's not what you're thinking. We love them. We do. I know that it looks like those other religions that shun people wrongly, and that's bad. And we feel horribly about that, and for those people, and those religions. God doesn't like them. But God likes us. We're not shunning. We love you. We love you so much that we will do anything to help you feel God's love. And if shaming you, if you want to call it that, we don't. And since we don't, it's not. Since we don't call it that, it's not that. We just want to bring you back to us. Which is good. These are good things. We want good things for you. Once you join our church, you will be expected to participate in lots of activities. The only way you can return to God, obviously, is by doing wonderful things and doing good works. And we have to make sure that we make up for all of the bad things that we do, or if we shun people. And again, I need to emphasize that we don't really shun people in the sense that it's not that we don't want to have anything to do with them. It's that we want them to be like us, and then we'll talk to them, and we will be friends, and we will be unconditionally their family. Does that make sense? Good. But if you are part of us, you will feel our love. We want you to be just like us. So again, it's not shunning. You know how nice we are. Everyone knows how nice the Mormons are. So if we have to abandon our principles of niceness for anything, you know it's for a good reason. So you will be expected to participate relentlessly, and you will feel inadequate most of the time, but it's okay, because you can always better yourself. Twice a year, we have a general conference, and our prophets will speak for Jesus. Jesus speaks through them. We are not sure exactly how it works, but we'll tell you that it's the Lord, what he wants. Just make sure you listen to the prophet. And they give you guidance. You will no longer have to think critically for yourself when you join our religion. It's like, have you ever heard of a lobotomy? It's not like that at all. It's like that in the sense that we deliberately choose not to acknowledge a part of our brain, but it is there, whereas a lobotomy would be like we don't have the choice, and not having a choice is bad. In the pre-existence, which you will learn all about, the devil said that he wanted to control everyone. And we said no. We would prefer to let ourselves control each other and suppress whatever things we feel personally. But we want to have the choice to be able to do that, or at least say that we do. And so we do. Once you join Mormonism, and keep in mind that when you first join, we will tell you wonderful stories. They are great, and we do believe them. We really do. All of us do, and we always will. It's just, once you join, there are certain things and principles and doctrines that are very sacred. They're very sacred to us. So sacred, in fact, that we can't tell you about them right at first. Not just at first. Eventually we will, if we trust you enough. If we think that you are ready to handle it, if your life is in a situation where you could not reject the religion because you were perfectly indoctrinated, or your support system and family members are so involved that you leaving would just be miserable for you, then we will tell you these things. Just a few little tidbits. Someday you might be able to be God. That's okay. It's confusing. There's not an official doctrine per se. We do, for the most part, all believe it. Sometimes we will tell you that we don't, and sometimes we think that we don't, because we're not sure. But what we are sure is that because references have been made to it by the prophet, we are not willing to abandon these things. So in time, you will be taught things that might seem difficult or confusing or strange, but we would ask you to just accept them. Just accept them for what they are. Maybe not accept them for what they are, but accept them as things that we're telling you. And what we tell you is right. We will ask you not to watch rated R movies. Sorry, they're just not appropriate. We would ask you to not swear. Flip, that's okay. Sometimes. We would also expect that you have lots of children. It's not a mandatory thing. It's just, our purpose is to populate and replenish the earth. And how would we do that unless we all participate? Which is where the gay thing comes in. Gays can't have children. So there's the reasoning there. It's also different. But being different is okay, as long as we say it's just a little bit of different. Not too much different. If being different is so conducive to being the same, then you can be different. Does that make sense? Of course it does. All the other religions are good. They're wrong, inherently. But we will talk about them as if they're young children who are just so close to knowing everything, but yet so short. But we can help them understand. And so can you, which is what we're doing now. You have lots of questions. I'm not going to answer them, per se, but I will bear my testimony. And I know the church is true. And I know that because I know it so much, you will forget that you've asked your questions. If you don't forget that you asked your questions, when I send my letters home to my family, because we can write letters to our families on our missions. I know I said we can't talk to them, but we can write letters. We're not allowed to read the newspaper, or use the internet, but once a week we get a free day where we get to do whatever we want within a certain defined list of things that we're allowed to do on our free day. But we will write our families, and we will tell them about how we met these people, like you, who wanted to know the truth, but they didn't know that they wanted it, and so they said that they didn't, and they politely declined our, not-so-subtle invitations. And we will tell them that it just goes to show you that there are people who are just so unaware of what they don't know, that they don't even know that they want it. But we know that we know. To call us paternalistic would be an understatement, yes. But it's okay, because we are under the impression that we're right. We know that we are. We know that you think that you are too, but we know that we are. Is this making sense to you? So after baptism, church is once a week, it's 3 hours long, and we will segregate you by the sexes, but we are not a sexist religion. The segregation has to do with something else. We will teach your children from an early age. We will start with very wonderful stories about Jesus, a lot like how we'll start with you as converts, with very reasonable, logical stories, and then we'll slowly, incrementally build on those stories with things that would scare you, but we promise that we won't scare you, because we will present this material in a way that is comforting. We will tell nice stories, and finally, we will talk to you in very, very comforting tones. We will put women in the pulpit, because we're not sexist, and they will tell you that everything is good, and happy, and everyone is happy. And when you speak like this all the time, soon you feel that way too. Like I said, selective lobotomies, but not really, it's just we pretend that we, Anyway, the old prophets are very important. We believe in them a lot. The only reason that you don't hear about Jesus at church very much is because what the prophets said was like what Jesus said, except different. But the same, somehow. We don't know how. We're curious. Brigham Young taught a lot of weird things. We don't know about those things, though, so it's okay. When we stand up and say that we know Joseph Smith and Brigham Young were prophets, we are not bad people, because we didn't realize that they were so racist and, chauvinistic. And if you suggest that they were, we will act confused. We don't understand what you're talking about. We don't understand how you could perceive polygamy and not allowing black people to have full access to our church because of their race as racist, because they weren't. God has a plan, and in his time, the plan will be explained. But to suggest that fallible men, who can infallibly lead the church, were incorrect would just be, it goes against logic, doesn't it? Logic. So, the thing is, if you ask questions and we debate with you, and you try to approach this from a reasonable perspective, then obviously you won't be inclined to join our religion. We need you to appeal to your heartstrings. We need you to look at our faces and our smiles and see that we're happy. And then you can join us and be part of us too. If things become difficult, just say that they're not, because they're not. And if they're too difficult, in the next life they won't be. So it's worth giving it up now, isn't it? Yes. Oh, you're not interested? Well, that's okay. I will just take your name down, and we will keep knocking on your doors. Please let us in. And if not, it's a shame for you. It's very depressing when people reject the truth and what is good, because what is good is what is good and is true, and what is what it was. Not how Mormonism was, how it will be someday, but not now. So just take these pamphlets and this Book of Mormon and these other things and read them. And if you read them with the belief that they will be true, you will think that it is. And if you read it and you find that it's not true, it's because you're deceiving yourself. That's what's happening. You are not allowing the Lord to work in your life. You need to let the Lord objectively work in your life, knowing that if the conclusion you come to is anything other than the one that we say it should be, what you're doing is wrong. And that applies to every facet of your life. And we want you to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. He loves you. But if at any time your personal relationship should yield an answer that would be different than what the prophet would say, then it's wrong. But that's okay. It doesn't mean that you don't have a relationship with God. It just means that you need an intermediary, a safety net. And that's where we come in. That's where the prophet comes in. He won't lead you astray. Because a prophet once promised that prophets will never lead us astray. And that prophet said, it was Joseph Smith, who am I kidding? He said that the Lord told him that we could never be led astray. And how perfect is that logic? The Lord said through a prophet that the prophets can never lead us astray. And if the prophets can never lead us astray, and the Lord told the prophet that, and then the prophet said it, then obviously it's true. Yay! So, I know our church is true. We know that you know it. We know that you may not know it. We know that you may want something different, but we know that you just don't know what you want. But we do. And someday you will. And if not in this life, then you will in the next life. We will baptize you in everything even after you die, before you get there. So you won't have to worry, because you will be taken care of. It's not offensive at all to usurp what you believed in this life and fought for. Or even died for, in the case of the Jews. We don't baptize them that often anymore. People got upset for some reason. We don't know why. But they did. So, anyway, please join our church. We need you. Even if it's only for a week or two, we can just put your name on our membership records and count you forever. We don't care if you remain active. I mean, we do. And we hope that you will, to save face. But mostly, we just need you. We need your name. We need your name on the list. So, thanks for coming to Temple Square. Bye!